Hey everyone, this is a filler episode exploring what artists think about music. I had an awesome opportunity to visit New York City in October, and the conversation that you're about to hear in this episode is my conversation with my dad's former colleague and my dear friend Shigeko Sara Suga. Shigeko is a working professional actor based in New York City, and I wanted to discuss what music means to her as an actor, not a musician. You're listening to Musical Tangents. Welcome. I guess the first question that I was going to ask you was um, because for those of you who are listening to this, I'm here in New York and I'm here with my dad's former colleague, Shigeko. So I want to kind of hand it over to you, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you do and what kind of roles you've played and things like that.
I guess I would like to go back. My name is Shigeko Sara Suga, at currently my stage name, original name Shigeko Suga. I came to New York 1986. And I pursued being an actor. But in 1986 in United States, for Asian performers, there weren't too many doors that were open because there was a very strong stereotype, just as African American actors were only playing basketball players and whatnot. It was at that time Asian female actors or actresses only were portrayed as geisha girl, tourist, or school teacher. That's about it, unless of course you're from the kabuki family. I, as a theater artist, I did not want to give up just because the door was closed to me. I did not want to give up, so I was contemplating. At the time, I heard about a company called Pan Asian Repertory Theater, directed by director Tisa Chang. And then I further find out that from Tisa, so at that time I auditioned for Tisa. They were looking for cast members for Shogun Macbeth. And they did cast me as a tea ceremony and a gentlewoman who serves Lady Macbeth. From Tisa, I learned about Ellen Stewart, original founder, director of La Mama Experimental Theater Club, began 1962. And so Tisa Chan calls me one day and says, "Oh well, Ellen's looking for somebody for her show who can dance and perform in her next show." Okay, I'm there. And then so I show up, and that was the beginning of my days and years of La Mama. I met with Ellen Stewart, who didn't even bother looking at my resume. I think she just tore it apart and said, "Just get in there and show me what you can do," kind of audition. There was no formality. It's like, do something kind of audition. So I got in, and my first show at La Mama was Mythos Oedipus, about Oedipus the king. And I believe your father, Dewey Chang, was in it. Yes, he was in it. Because this was the time, I think it was 1989 already, that she wanted to mix the show, Mythos Oedipus, along with another piece that she was going to do, which is premiere of, of Dionysos Philios Day, about Dionysus' journey looking for his mother, Semele. And in both shows, Dewey Chang was in it, and I was in it, and I got to work with many artists on and on and on. Because New York City, of course, is a big city, but at the end of the day, one artist leads to another. So you have no budget. Okay, Ellen has provided you a space, so you're dependent on, information from your friends. Hey, don't you have someone who is into costume? Can he or she help us out with a very, very low budget? And then at which point there was, and there still is an organization called Material for the Arts. You can go there, find anything, including fabrics, buttons, furnitures, whatever. You can get them for free, and in return you just have to say thank you, write a thank you note to the company that they didn't quite dedicate so much. Whatever that the industrial companies don't need, they come and dump them. And hoping that somebody can use them.
Right,
so
it's a recycling program in a way.
Right, exactly. So, or you can say, okay, so we found the costume person. Don't we know somebody who can play a drum?
Right.
Oh, Yukio would do it for you. Yukio likes this kind of whatever. So it's one by one, it's all like connecting the world of theater artists. So that's what La Mama was. And I didn't know at that time, Ellen Stewart, the founder, was providing whoever came from another country who had a specific skill or talent or something. It could be butoh, it could be ballet, it could be makeup, Chinese Peking opera makeup. She would say, okay, I brought you over here, so can you give us a training workshop for free? So then Ellen Stewart would say, hey, La Mama people, I'm holding a free workshop this weekend. Peking opera makeup, come on over. So we had tons and tons and tons of makeup. Free training courses. We had Japanese sword movements. We had many butoh workshops, makeup, and there was playwriting and so on and so on. And I thought that was the way of New York City. I had no idea. That was just a plain old special thing that Ellen Stewart had conducted for the people that she cared about.
Right.
Yeah. And anyway, so that's it. I never left theater except for some years I dedicated my time to study flamenco. And then eventually my very dear flamenco teacher passed away, at which point I returned back to theater arts. And so basically, yes, I've been in the theater ever since I arrived in 1986 to now 2023. Money or not, press or not, paycheck or not. I just didn't want to give up. Yeah.
So another thing that you mentioned was some of the plays that you've done with the La Mama production was, in a way, kind of using language as another source of music, and how that was, it was essentially proving a point where language wasn't the only source of communication.
Correct.
So
Of course.
it was encouraging almost in a sense that there's some type of universality across
Yes.
the globe. So how was participating in a project like that? Because I don't know. When I arrived at in the United States for the first time, I didn't speak English, and most of the people, I think, especially during 1980s and 1970s, when people were arriving, some people may have had some formal education on English, but some people also didn't. So
Right,
kind of
right.
overcoming that barrier and how that in a way, experiment of Ellen Stewart kind of pushed people to their limits of understanding language as another form of,
Right.
just another form of communication, not the only form of communication.
Yes, very important. As I said, Ellen Stewart began La Mama Experimental Theater Club in 1962 for the playwrights who had no representation. But little by little, then she had aimed for the world theater. Well, as you said, English isn't the only language for the world. So she said to most everyone who came along, said, look, excuse me if I'm going to offend somebody. Look, I'm Chinese, I'm blind, I'm deaf. Show me your story. Tell me your story so that I can understand. So the music played a very important role. So La Mama's landmark production is referred as Greek trilogy, which included Medea, Electra, and Trojan Women, 3 works composed by a lady named Elizabeth Suedo, directed by Andrei Serban, who is originally from Romania. In any case, so the group of people got together, including your father, and maybe your father came a little bit later, like in the 70s, but originally like in the 60s. In 62, they developed Medea, and then by 74, they fully developed Trojan Women and Greek trilogy. These 3 shows were performed in ancient Greek with made-up words and sounds, sang, and with rhythms and music and raw emotions told in this manner, with actions and again raw emotions, without a single word of English. So, as some great composer or philosopher said, all art forms admire towards music, because even speaking English, you're still dealing with the rhythm, the iambic rhythm, the speed and the pitch. And so for example, let's say in the acting world, let's say I'm going to say, oh, I love you. Okay. I love you. Or I love you. You know, it's the color, the pitch, the music. It all changes the meaning of the words I love you. So put that in ancient Greek and made up sound. Let's have an example. I hate you. Let's say I hate you. Okay, in English, let's say I hate you. And it can be like, you know, like that. Or it could be, or is that too loud?
No, it's okay.
Or it could be, it can be any one of these consonants and vowels combination And of course, there's music and percussion.
Mm-hmm.
So you can literally create a story without using a single word of English. It could just be a voice, emotion, the volume, the way you do it, and the way you move your body. So that is the experimentation that they conducted, and these three pieces went around the world like 3 times. They performed everywhere, and it's still being. So it started in 72 with Medea, Trojan Women 74. Your father went around all of Europe and Japan and with Trojan Women and everything else. I think he was also in other 2. Right, correct. He was in all 3. People everywhere were fascinated. And they were moved by it. I certainly was moved by it. And I so wanted to be a part of this tradition of Greek plays. In any event, something like that.
So now, after you've been in La Mama production since 1986, you've also been a part of the Metropolitan Opera's productions of various operas as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
How was your experience in La Mama production? Helped you or guided you in some ways to be
Everything.
fluid on the opera stage?
Everything, I'm telling you, everything was from La Mama. Okay, here's the audition day. Okay, pandemic, of course, happened. We were hungry for live theater. So the Met was going to open in 2020, was it 2? Right, 2022 of September, they were going to open back with Shostakovich's piece called Lady Macbeth of Muzensk. They were looking for featured character dancers, 7 of them.
Mm.
So this call was on, I think it was on Actors Access. And I didn't even read the small prints that said Metropolitan Opera House. I don't think it even said that. I think it was like, it may involve some sexual nature, and if we're looking for character dancers, please submit. So I submit. I was just hungry for live theater. This is summer of 22. We're just coming out of pandemic and everything else. And then I was contacted to come in for in-person audition. I had no clue that it was really at the Met. So I'm like overjoyed that I'm going to be in the Met building.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love opera.
Right.
And I'm thinking of all the stars that I really liked, thinking, oh my God, so-and-so was here, so-and-so was. So I was really just having fun feeling the energy of the rehearsal room, gigantic rehearsal room they have, that we were called to go for in-person audition.
Uh-huh.
Well, in-person audition went on like 3 days or 3 to 4 days. Each group had about 40 people.
I see.
I understand approximately 300 people auditioned.
For seven people.
7 female dancers. They already had male dancers from people that they already have in their
productions.
Their list. So I had no idea that including people who worked at the Metropolitan Opera were called at the same audition.
Oh, I see.
So that's why it ended up with like 300 people in the end. I think. I'm not sure exact how many people. So Ron Howard, who is a choreographer, also an original creator of this production, who set Shostakovich's piece in 19, oh boy, sorry if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 1950 or 60s in America, the setup.
Oh.
So they moved the Russian original time period and moved the piece to America in the 50s or 60s, because we used Hoover vacuum cleaner as one of the dance pieces.
I see.
The real Hoover.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't a
It wasn't the new one.
it wasn't a plastic replica. It was a heavy duty metal Hoover vacuum cleaner that we had to carry and dance with. In any case, so it wasn't an audition that lasted 5 minutes. It lasted like, I think 4 or 5 hours. It was like all day long. So the group of us would go in, and then he would say, okay, well, then you're a housewife. Your husband comes home with guests. You hate them, but you have to have a smile on your face. And you're preparing the meals and drinks and everything. And so he would have us like do whatever he said, and walk in speed 10, speed 7, speed 3, as a wife who is crying but has to have a smile on your face, kind of thing. So it required physical movements as well as emotional. And then at one time he said, well, you're at a funeral. Well, how are you going to express your sorrow? So everything I did came from La Mama. Like I did
Right.
the this cry of not Agamemnon. What's her name? Andromache. Andromache loses her son, right? And she was in your father's time played by Priscilla Smith, who was a master of every voice experimentation that you could ever imagine. So she created that cry because she was about to lose her son. So I'm thinking, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pretend that I'm Priscilla Smith losing her son, and I threw like a handkerchief over my face, and I started going something like this, and then the Butoh training comes in. So continuing, he's throwing at us these tasks that we have to do at an audition. So, and then at one time he says, well, okay, then you lost someone you really love, and what are you going to do about it, instead of just crying at the funeral? So I used Butoh, which was introduced to me by La Mama training. Well, there you go. And then I got the part. It was very difficult because it's sort of like my first Broadway audition was actually for Bob Fosse. There were hundreds of us. Hundreds of us. And we with numbers, right? I'm like number 365 or whatever. We're running across the stage, and Bob Fosse, I'm not kidding you, was like staring at each person. So it was a bit like that. There's hundreds of, it was 40 people in a group, but by the end of the day, there's like 3 groups, right? So I don't know if he just wanted to have fun like that, but he would say, "Oh, we weren't a number. We were actually having a name tag. So we would have, okay, Shigeko, okay, go over there. Okay, Chris, you go over there. You don't know who is staying or leaving."
Right. Okay.
So it's that kind of and so everybody in the room is like, oh my god, I'm going to this way, I'm going to that, and so we don't know who is staying and leaving. So, but of course, by the time there were a lot more people going this way, we figured out people who went that way are staying, and so of course they're like, okay, you guys stay, everybody else, thank you very much. And they picked 3 more people as sub because it was right out of pandemic. They always had to have, even today, Met always has to have understudy
Mm-hmm.
in the event that you have COVID or whatever. So that's how I got in. From everything I have learned from La Mama is how I got into the opera, which I love so much. Which is kind of ironic, but it is what it is, and so I'm grateful.
So another question that I had was, not only were you exposed to various cultural aspects of arts from all around the world through La Mama, but I also wanted to ask you, what exposure did you have in terms of music and just overall the arts in again, for those of you who are listening in, you're originally from Japan.
Yes.
So back home, what kind of exposure did you have for the arts? Was there specific memories that you have about, like, oh, this was this, even if it wasn't strictly music or strictly what's called art forms, and of course here I am talking to someone who's been in experimental theater, so but was there some kind of memories that you thought was very not only dear to you but that stayed with you as like, that was very musical, or that was very physically beautiful and things like that?
Yes. Well, I was raised in a Buddhist temple. My father was a Buddhist monk. My father also was very open-minded, along with my mother. They were very open-minded. They said, well, we should all learn something, So we were all sent to piano lessons, drawing lessons, and also, what do you call it, the math thing from China? Abacus
Yes,
lessons. And then my oldest sister and my second also sister were sent to traditional Japanese dance. I'm fourth. The third and fourth, we probably said, no, we don't want to do it. But we were surrounded by, my father also began a kindergarten on his own, and he believed that children need music lessons. So they made sure that there was a piano always in the building. But unfortunately for me, I did not become an opera singer or pianist or painter of any kind. What really got me, I think, in my early days of growing up in the temple is the monks. Monks chanting. They don't just chant. They have a big cymbal going, pah, and then there's a drum going, dun 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 dun, and there's a or other little instruments that go with the Buddhist chants. So I think that really got me. That the rituals that frame us, wherever you're from, the culture, whatever the culture, it doesn't have to be monks chant. It can be Catholic, prayer, there's always a ritual
Yes.
that can define, or that makes you feel that you can define yourself as, okay, I'm this and I'm that, and through which I pray to God, or I pray, or I exist as a person. So music and rituals, in my mind, frame everyone's identity. You don't have to take pills and go to a doctor to define who you are. It's great if you know who you are without any rituals, but in general, human society rituals help you define yourself as who you are. You don't have to comply with the society, because rituals usually involve with just other people, not just alone. Other people involved, and when other people are involved, there's always, minor problems, personality conflicts. But just aside from all that, the pure form of rituals and music and I think helps me feel good. Yeah. It doesn't mean I'm always chanting or anything like
Right.
that.
No, but I think there's some truth to that, because I think performance, in a way, I don't know if you would agree, but I think performing can be seen almost ritualistic.
Of course, yes.
It has some ritualistic aspects to it, and
oh yeah, you have to go to backstage. Maybe you put on the costume, you put on the makeup, you pray that everything goes okay. Yes, theater is a sacred space, and I do think that performance is part of that ritual. Yeah.